welcome to this first look exploring session, our second session looking at What You Will by John Marston. We are 2 acts into the play. We're starting Act 3 and going into Act 4 today, following on from last time. There is a plot, but the play hasn't been that interested in it particularly. There is a plot. There's a... Celia's lost her husband at sea, wants to remarry. Nobody likes the person she wants to marry. We haven't met her yet, so some other stuff happened. Quite a lot of other stuff happened. It was quite fun. There's been some really, really great lines. Some plums may or may not have been bought. So, without further ado, we're going to read in the text with this wonderful set of readers. So, reading today, Randolfo and Simplicius is...
Hello, my name is Lynn. I live in the Northwestern United States, and I am Zooming from my smartphone for the first time. So, if things go horribly wrong, I apologize in advance.
Sure, it'll be fine. Reading Quadratus and Trip is...
Hello, my name's Francis Cox. I'm an actor living in Amsterdam, and I'm not zooming from my smartphone.
Yeah. Reading Jacomo and Doit today is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I can't find a pun to do there. I was going to go to Doit, but that doesn't work. You have to put a T on the end.
Just do it. It'll be fine. Reading Francisco and Holofernes Pippo is...
Hi, Alan Scott in Suffolk. What's a smartphone?
Reading Andrea / Adrian, depending on your point of view, and Lampatho is...
Hello, I'm Sarah. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
Reading Pedant and Lucia is...
Briony, Sparrow, actor in Lincolnshire. I've definitely been called worse.
Reading Albano and Meletza is...
Valentina Vinci, I'm an actor in London.
And reading Slip and Lyzabetta is...
Rachael Nicole, filming from my smartphone as always.
And reading Bidet and Celia is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good. I'm a historian in Hull, and I would prefer it to be Bidet.
Yeah, but Helen, so not going to happen.
Dream on.
I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. I'm also stepping in to be Laverdure and Noose. Unless I find a cunning way to pass them around to somebody else. Without further ado, we're going to dive into Act 3. The music for the Act division fades away or stops in some fashion. Enter Francisco, half-dressed. In his black doublet and round cap, the best rich. Jacomo bearing his hat and feather. Hat and feather action has been mentioned previously. Andrea, or Adrian, with his doublet and band. Randolfo, his cloak and staff. Everyone's got some cool gear. They clothe Francisco whilst Bidet creeps in and observes them. Much of this done whilst the act, presumably by this, the act music is still playing.
God's sake, remember to take special marks of me, or you will ne'er be able to know me. Why, good faith, I scarce know myself. Already methinks I should remember to forget myself. Now I am so shining brave. Indeed, Francisco was always a sweet youth, for I am a perfumier. But thus brave, I am alien to it. Would thou make me like the drowned Albano? Must I bear manly up? Must I be here?
What else, man? What else?
I warrant you give him but fair rich clothes he can be ta'en. Reputed anything. Apparel's grown a god and goes more neat. Makes men of rags, which straight he bears aloft. Like patched up scarecrows to affright the rout of the idolatrous vulgar that worship images. Stand awed and bare scalped at the gloss of silks, which like the glorious Ajax of Lincoln's Inn, surveyed with wonder by me when I lay factor in London, laps up naught but filth and excrements that bear the shape of men, whose inside every door would peck and tear. tear, but that vain scarecrow clothes and treats forbear.
You would have me take upon me Albano, a valiant, gallant, Venetian burgomasco? Well, my beard, my feather, short sword, and my oath shall do it, fear not. What? I know a number, by the sole warrant of a lappy beard, a rain-beat plume, and a good chop-filling oath, with an odd French shrug, and by the Lord or so, I leapt into a sweet captain with such ease as you would. Fear it not, I'll gauge my heart, I'll do it. How sits my hat? Ah, Jack, does my feather wag?
Methinks now, in the common sense of fashion, thou shouldst grow proud and like a 4-horse view, none but before and gallants. As for sides, study a faint salute, give a strange eye, and those that rank in equal file with thee, but as to those in rearward, will be blind. The world wants eyes it cannot see behind.
Oh, where is that strumpet? Where's the hot-veined French? Lives not Albano? Has Celia so forgot Albano's love that she must forthwith wed a runabout, a skipping Frenchman?
Now you must grow in heat and stut.
Old phantasma, a beggar, who, what you will, a struggling gun.
Passing like him, passing like him. Oh, 'twill strike all dead.
I am ravished. 'Twill be peerless exquisite. Let him go out instantly.
No, not till twilight. Meantime, I'll prop up the tottering rumor of Albano's escape and safe arrival. It begins to spread. If this plot live, Frenchman, thy hopes are dead.
And exit everyone except for Bidet.
And if it live, strike off this little head.
And they exit. Nobody noticed little Bidet there in the corner. Maybe overheard things. Yes, the plot has suddenly entered. After a long absence from most of Act 2 and a bit of Act 1, it comes in, it's very fabulously dressed. A lot of detail on the dress there. A mention of the title being thrown in willy-nilly. Always nice to have that. And yes, this question of the impersonation of the dead Albano, who does suggest that he's supposed to have a stutter. Was that what was going on there, or
it would seem so?
Yeah. They mentioned his impediment was mentioned when they first devised this plot. It's like, he even stutters when he's nervous.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something to look forward to. But these aren't necessarily nice people, so let's see how the situation develops on that front. Other thoughts in the room, Rachael.
The last Marston one that we read, there was something about feathers in the caps, and it was older guy saying to, I think it was like Bianca, that he'd be distinguished from the fool because he would have embroidered velvet clothes, but he had a feather in his cap. So is this like, what is the significance of clothing here? I think that's like a lot of the stuff that I'm missing, because I think there's some joke in their clothing.
Well, there's a temporal thing to bear in mind that before anyone leaps in on that point, because this play is a few years earlier than the play we did last time. So we did The Malcontent, which referenced feathers in hats and things, and maybe as a passing fashion that's maybe a bit out now. So this might be at the height of its fashionability, or maybe a thing. But I will leave this to wiser heads to fill in with. Helen.
Yeah, at the end of Act 2, the little lad Pippo is over the moon because he's got a hat with a feather in it. And a dagger, which, quite honestly, I think he's probably too young for.
Well, he's got to cut his meat up somehow.
True.
Sarah.
I got the impression, and I could be completely wrong, that they were bringing the clothes more than wearing them. So one of them came with his cloak and staff, Andrea his doublet and band. I got the impression that they were bringing all this stuff. Each of them was bringing something to add to Francisco's dress to make him look like Albano.
Yeah, that makes sense, because the stage direction is Francisco half dressed in his black doublet, etc., and then it's Jacomo bearing his hat and feather, so it's Francisco's hat and feather, Andrea bringing in the doublet and band. Yeah, so they've all got bits and bobs, and hence the level of detail. Yeah, Eric.
I was just going to mention that the whole feather in cap thing was the sort of opening joke in the induction of the other one, about putting Blackfriars going out of business and that kind of thing. There were no more swan feathers left in Blackfriars or something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe this was all really fashionable in 1601-ish, but 5 years later, when you're at the Globe, those boy actors and their feather in their hat thing, bit passé. Sarah.
Yeah, just continuing with the clothing detour for one moment. I was interested by that couplet, which, like the glorious Ajax of Lincoln's Inn, surveyed with wonder by me when I lay factor in London. So was Lincoln's Inn like a place where you got a lot of silks? Because it was, the gloss of silks is like the glorious Ajax of Lincoln's Inn. Is that a topical reference to somewhere that actually sold them, or does anyone know?
It might just be if someone. I'll go to Alan.
Lincoln's Inn, one of the inns of court.
Yeah.
So you got the wealthy lawyers. I think is probably the reference.
Yeah, because it might be that they're talking about the fashion of people who are at Lincoln's Inn, rather than that Lincoln's Inn is a producer of.
Okay.
And that makes sense. And that's that at this reopened boys' company, assuming that it is. I think it's very plausible that it is. I see no evidence at all to suggest this isn't a boys' company play. Those inns of court audience is I think quite important to this. So that kind of reference probably goes down really well. They're going, ha ha ha, kind of gag. Eric.
I was just going to say that he's kind of, Jacomo is being a bit of a fool here, because he actually mentions like glorious Ajax, and then he actually killed himself. So according to myth, so that doesn't bode well.
And it's Jacomo who seems to be doing the this is how you've got to do it. He's the very theatrical one we found from last time. So that sort of is part of it. So now you must grow in heat and stut. And it's an interesting question of how comfortable Francisco is in with any of this. It's like, because he comes in basically reiterating the plot. Must I be he? Yes. Sole purpose of visit, people. But yeah, he doesn't seem keen. He doesn't seem to understand the entire purpose of what we're doing. Other thoughts before we go on to scene 2? Sarah.
It's just what you said about Jacomo being theatrical. There's quite a few theatrical characters in this, actually, more so than usual. Like normally there'd be like one. There'd be the dandy or the fop or whatever. But I'm just thinking, you've got Jacomo, you've got Laverdure was there trying to make a bit of a show yesterday, and wasn't Lampatho as well? Wasn't he he started off as a bit of a fop, and then he kind of went all serious.
And Quadratus, goes meta at the end of the last act. So ends our chat. Sound music. There isn't a real world here. They all live in the theatre.
They seem to be, yeah.
So, Briony.
It's kind of almost like Giacomo's more in control or more aware than the others, though, because it's almost like this bit is, if you put on the costume, then they'll believe you're this person, which is what we all do. That's kind of the nature of acting, isn't it? A little bit like get in the costume, take on a couple of features, and that's it. You'll be that person. You'll live it.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation the other day in another play as well, where we were talking about it's the once you take on that role, you become someone else. I forget what that was in. It was all to do with it was during the Mountain Content, where various people are disguised as different people, and that's that way that Marston seems quite interested in that as a concept of what happens to people. Lynn.
I'm just reminded of something that the American drag performer RuPaul said: "We're born naked. Everything else is drag." So,
on that note, we'll go into Act 3, Scene 2, and we're going a lot of people. It's quite a long scene. I don't know if we'll pour. Oh no, it's not that long. It's long enough. Act 3, Scene 2. Enter Albano, oft heard of, with Slip his page.
Can it be? Is possible? Is within the bounds of faith? Oh, villainy!
The clapper of rumor strikes on both sides. Bringing out the French knight is in firm possession of my mistress, your wife.
Is possible I should be dead so soon in her effects? How long is since our shipwreck?
Faith, I have little arithmetic in me, yet I remember the storm made me cast up perfectly the whole sum of all I had received. 3 days before I was liquored soundly. My guts were rinsed for the heavens. I look as pale ever since, as if I had ta'en the diet this spring.
But how long is since our shipwreck?
Mary, since we were hung by the heels on the batch of Sicily to make a jail delivery of the sea in our maws, 'tis just 3 months. Shall I speak like a poet? Thrice hath the horned moon...
Talk not of horns. Oh, Celia, how oft, when thou hast laid thy cheek upon my breast, and with lascivious petulancy sued for hymeneal dalliance, marriage rites, oh, then, how oft with passionate protests and zealous vows hast thou obliged thy love in dateless bends unto Albano's breast? Then did I but mention second marriage, with what a bitter hate would she inveigh against retailed wedlock. Oh, she would lisp, if you should die, then would she slide a tear, and with a wanton languishment entwist her hands. Oh God, and you should die, Mary! Could I love life, my dear Albano dead? Should any prince possess his widow's bed? And now, see, I am but rumoured drowned.
She'll make you prince. Your worship must be crowned. Oh, master, you know the woman is the weaker creature. She must have a prop. The maid is the brittle metal. Her head is quickly cracked. The wife is queasy-stomached. She must be fed with novelties. But then, what's your widow? Custom is a second nature. I say no more, but think you the rest.
If love be holy, if that mystery of co-united hearts be sacrament, if that unbounded goodness have infused a sacred ardour, if a mutual love into our species of those amorous joys, those sweets of life, those comforts even in death, spring from a cause above our reason's reach, if that clear flame deduce his heat from heaven, 'tis like his cause, eternal, always one, as is the installer of divinest love, unchanged by time, immortal, meagre death. But oh, 'tis grown a figment, love, a jest, a comic poesy. The soul of man is rotten even to the core, no sound affection. Our love is hollow vaulted, stands on props of circumstance, profit, or ambitious hopes. The other tissue gown or chain of pearl makes my coy minx to nuzzle twixt the breasts of her lulled husband. Other carcanet the flowers that lady's bed, 100 more marries that loathed blouse, 1 £10 odds in promise John in promised jointure, makes the hard-palmed sire, and forces daughter's tender lips to start at the sharp touch of some loathred stubborn beard. The first pure time, the golden age is fled. Heaven knows I lie, it is now the age of gold, for it all marreth, and even virtue's sold.
Master, will you trust me, and I'll...
Yes, boy, I'll trust thee. Babes and fools I'll trust, but servants' faith, wife's love, or female's lust, a usurer and the devil sooner. Now, were I dead, methinks I see a half-cup swaggering sir pawning my plate, my jewels' mortgage, nay, selling outright the purchase of my brows, whilst my poor fatherless, lean, tottered son, my gentlest relic, my house's only prop, is sawed asunder, lies fallen, all bleak unto the griefs of sharp necessities, whilst his father-in-law, his father-in-devil, or devil father, oh, boo, woo, 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 what you will. When is the marriage morn?
Even next rising sun.
Good, good, good. Go to my brother Andrea. Tell him I'll lurk. Stay, tell him I'll lurk, stay. Now is Albano's marriage bed, now new hung with fresh rich curtains, now are my violins up, embossed with oriental pearl, my grandsire's gift, now are the lone sheets fumed with violets, to fresh the pallid lascivious appetite, now works the cooks, the pastries wheats with slaves, the marchpanes glitter, now the musicians, hover with nimble sticks o'er squeaking crowds, tickling the dried guts of a mewing cat. The tailors, starchers, sempsters, butchers, porters, mercers, all, now none think of me. The French is the fine man, the pock man, the...
Peace, stand concealed. Yonder, by all descriptions, is he would be husband of my mistress, your wife. Ha, meet ha.
That's so. That's my velvet cloak.
Peace, observe him. Ha.
Enter Laverdure and Bidet talking. Quadratus, Lampatho, Simplicius, Pedant, and Holofernes Pippo.
'Tis most true, sir. I heard it all. I saw all. I tell all. And I hope you believe all. The sweet Francisco Saranza, the perfumer, is by your rival Jacomo and your two brothers that must be, when you've married your wife that shall be.
With the grace of heaven.
Disguised so like the drowned Albano to cross your suit that, by my little honesty, 'twas great consolation in me to observe them. Passion of joy, of hope, oh excellent, cried Andrea. Passingly, cried Randolfo. Unparalleled, lisps Jacomo. Good, 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 says Andrea. Now strut, says Jacomo. Now strut, says Randolfo, while the ravished perfumer had like to have watered the seams of his breeches for extreme pride of their applause.
Sist, I'll to Celia and maugre the nose of her friends, wed her, bed her. My first son shall be a captain, and his name shall be what it pleases godfathers. The second, if he had a face bad enough, a lawyer. The third, a merchant. And the fourth, if he be maimed, dull-brained, or hard-shaped, a scholar, for that's your fashion.
Get them, man, first. Now, by the wantonness of the night, and I were a wench, I would not have thee, wert thou an heir, nay, which is more, a fool.
Why, I can rise high, a straight leg, a plump thigh, a full vein, a round cheek, and when it pleaseth the fertility of my chin to be delivered of a beard, 'twill not wrong my kissing, for my lips are rebels and stand out.
Oh, but there's an old fusty proverb. These great talkers are never good doers.
Why, what a babble arrogance is this! Men will put by the very stock of fate. They'll thwart the destiny of marriage, strive to disturb the sway of Providence. They'll do it.
Come, you'll be snarling now.
as if we had free will in supernatural effects, and that our love or hate depended not on causes above the reach of human stature.
I think I shall not lend you 40 shillings now.
Dirt upon dirt. Fear is beneath my shoe. Dreadless of racks, strappadoes, or the sword, morgue informer, and sly intelligence, I'll stand as confident as Hercules, and, with a fightless resolution, rep up and lance our time's impieties.
But so, peace!
Open a bounteous ear, for I'll be free. Ample as heaven, give my speech more room. Let me embrace my breast, strip up my sleeves, stand like an executioner to vice, to strike his head off with the keener edge of my sharp spirit.
Room and good license. Come on, when?
Now is my fury mounted. Fix your eyes, intend your senses, bend your listening up, for I'll make greatness quake. I'll tore the hide of thick-skinned hugeness.
'Tis most gracious we'll observe thee calmly.
Hang on thy tongue's end. Come on, prithee do.
I'll see you hanged first, I thank you, sir. I'll none. This is the strain that chokes the theatres, that makes them crack with full-stuffed audience. This is your humour only in request, forsooth the rail. This brings your ears to bed. This people gape for this some do stare. This some would hear to crack the author's neck. This admiration and applause pursues who cannot rail. My humour's changed. 'Tis clear. Pardon or not, I prize my joints more dear.
Master! I've described the perfumer in Albano's disguise. Look you! Rare sport!
I can contain my impatience no longer. You, Monsieur Cavalier, Saint Denis, you capricious sir, Signor Caranto, French brawl, you that must marry Celia Galanto, is Albano drowned now? Go wander, avon knight-errant, Celia shall not be cuck-queen. My hair no beggar, my plate no pawn, my land no mortgage, my wealth no food for thy luxuries, my house no harbour for thy comrades, my bed no booty for thy lusts, my anything shall be thy nothing. Go hence, pack, avon, caper, along, pass by, cloak your nose, away, vanish, wander, depart, slink by, away.
Hark you, perfumer, tell Jacomo, Randolfo, and Andrea 'twill not do. Look you, say no more, but 'twill not do.
What perfumer? What Jacomo?
Nay, assure thee, honest perfumer, good Francisco, we know all, man. Go home to thy civet box. Look to the profit, commodity, or emolument of thy muskat's tail. Go, clap on your round cap, my what you lack, sir, for i' faith, good rogue, all's descried.
What perfumer, what musk-cat, what Francisco, what do you lack? It's not enough that you kissed my wife.
Enough?
Aye, enough. And maybe I fear me too much, but you must flout me, deride me, scoff me, keep out, touch not my porch. As for my wife...
Stir to the door, dare to disturb the match, and by the...
My sword! Menace Albano for his own doors.
No, not Albano, but Francisco. Thus, perfumer, I'll make you stink if you stir a... For the rest, well, via. And exeunt all but Albano, Slip, Simplicius, and Holofernes Pippo.
Jesu, what intense this, huh?
Oh, good sir, you lie, as open to my understanding as a courtesan. I know you as well as...
Somebody knows me yet. Praise heaven, somebody knows me yet.
Why, look, you, sir. I have paid for my knowing of men and women, too, in my days. I know you are Francisco Soranza, the perfumer. I, Maugre, Signor Satin. I.
Do not tempt my patience. Go to. Do not.
I know you dwell in St. Mark's Lane at the sign of the Musk Cat as well.
Fool, or mad, or drunk, no more.
I know where you were dressed, where you were.
Nay then, take all, take all, take all.
And he bastinadoes Simplicius.
And I tell not my father if I make you not lose your office of gutter mastership and you be scavenger next year. Well, come, Holofernes, come, good Holofernes, come, servant.
And exeunt Simplicius and Holofernes enter Jacomo.
Francisco Soranza, and perfumer, and musket, and gutter master, ay, go, go, go. What? I'll to the Duke, and I'll tickle them.
Precious, what means he to go out so soon? Before the dusk of twilight might deceive the doubtful priors. What, Holla?
What devil now?
I'll fain I know him not. What business for those doors?
What's that to thee?
You come to wrong my friend Sir Laverdure. Confess, or...
My sword, boy, soul my sword.
Oh, my dear rogue, thou art a rare dissembler.
Say.
Enter Andrea and Randolfo.
Francisco, did I not help to clothe thee even now? I would have sworn the Albano, my good sweet slave.
And exit Jacomo.
See, Jesus, impostors, coney catchers of Santa Maria.
Look you, he walks, he feigns most excellent.
Andrea.
Accost him first, as you were ignorant of the deceit.
Oh, dear Albano, now thrice happy eyes to view the hopeless presence of my brother.
Most loved kinsman, praise to heaven, yet you know Albano, but for yonder slaves, well.
Success could not come on more gracious.
Had not you come, dear brother Andrea, I think not one would know me. Ulysses' dog had quicker sense than my dull countrymen. Why, none had known me.
Doubt you of that? Would I might die had I not known the guile. I would have sworn thou hadst been Albano, my nimble cousining knave.
Whip! Heaven preserve all! Saint Mark, brother Andrea, be frantic. Pretty be. Say I'm a perfumer. Francisco, eh? It's not some feast day? You are all rank drunk? Rats, knights of the bell.
Oh, go, proceed. Thou dost it rare. Farewell.
Exeunt Andrea and Randolfo.
Farewell? Is it even so?
That's Albano, rather. It is you're Albano. Sorry, I apologise. I'm getting confused by all the A's.
Well, is it even so? Boy, whom am I?
My lord Albano.
By this breast you lie. The same faith is true. True, I was drowned, and now my soul is skipped into perfumer, a gutter master.
Believe me, sir.
No, I'll believe nothing. No, the disadvantage of all honest heart is quick credulity. Perfect state policy can cross-bite even sense. The world's turned juggler casts mists before our eyes. A pass, repass, I'll credit nothing.
Good sir.
Hence, ass, doth not opinion stamp the current pass of each man's value, virtue, quality? Had I engrossed the choice commodities of heaven's traffic, yet reputed vile? I am a rascal. Oh, dear unbelief, how wealthy dost thou make thy owner's wit? Thou train of knowledge, what a privilege thou givest to thy possessor! Anchorest him from floating with the tide of vulgar faith, from being damned with multitudes' dear unbelief. I am a perfumer. I. Think'st thou my blood my brothers know not right Albano yet? Away, 'tis faithless. If Albano's name were liable to sense that I could taste, or touch, or see, or feel it, it might 'tis believe. But since 'tis voice and air... Come to the musket, boy. Francisco, that's my name. 'Tis right, aye. What do you lack? What is it you lack, right? That's my cry.
And they exit. Yeah, lots going on here. It's like we, having reintroduced the plot, it's like let's do something with it. Let's do lots with it. Let's do huge amounts with it suddenly, very, very quickly. So, Bidet, having overheard this plot with Francisco dressing up as Albano turns up, and unfortunately, because Bidet's told Laverdure about this guy dressing up as Albano, when Albano turns up, they don't believe it's him, and then the people who have organised the dressing up do believe it's him, and he now has an existential crisis where he's not even sure who he really is. Now, we have been here before in a play that we've done on the podcast. We've done full cast audio adaptation of the play Jack Juggler, where someone basically steals somebody's identity in front of their face, and the person actually spends a few moments just going, "Who am I? I don't know who I am anymore." And that's actually exactly what's going on. And we have the word juggler thrown in as well. So it's really interesting from that perspective. That full cast audio adaptation is available on the podcast now. I will hope to remember to put that in the show notes. Thoughts from the room. Who wants to leap in? Lots of thoughts. Lynn first, then Rachael, then Helen.
Yes. Am I on? I guess I'm.
Yes,
I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I read the synopsis at the beginning of our text, which we didn't read for the for the video. And I still wasn't able to follow it, but I did catch it. Okay, Albano's not really dead. And I knew that, okay, we're going to have a fake Albano and a real Albano, and they're going to mistake the real Albano for the fake Albano, and it's going to be hilarious. And it is. It's just slaying me. Marston is just prodigiously, monstrously clever in his dramaturgy. That's just my feeling. I just really love the way he constructs things, and I love his language too. The way he insults people, and yeah, the way he uses language is really rich and evocative, and the plotting is just cracking me up.
Rachael.
No, this scene is so funny because Albano is having this existential crisis, and I think his servant is still hungover. There's something at the beginning that it makes it sound like he was hungover when they shipwrecked anyway, or he's hungover enough. So if you combine that with existential crisis, I don't know. I just think this is there's too much comedy in this. It's so funny.
Slip seems to be seasick after their voyage, so yeah, he's not feeling well. Not to say he hasn't been drinking as well. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that struck me was that a key character point when they were coaching Francisco on the impersonation was the stutter. And yet, when Albano was speaking, there are only 2 or 3 very, very brief passages in which the stutter actually appears in the script. And I'm wondering whether an original actor, when they were doing it, would have actually made a right meal out of speech impediment.
I don't think so. It is stated that it's when he's stressed.
Yeah.
And so it only comes in once there's a moment where he just sort of loses it. And Valentina, I think, was going to say very much the same thing. But it is structured within that, because if it was a constant thing, it would just be really, really difficult to take. I mean, it's a little difficult to take even as it is. But it's actually structurally solid in that sense, that it's not just, oh, someone has a speech impediment, let's laugh at that. It is a character thing that they are imitating in a way that is their problem, not his, as it were. Sarah, then Helen, and then Eric.
Yes, I put this in the chat. I have no idea why the character I was playing, Lampatho, got so angry. Like, I started reading his lines. It's like, oh, okay, he's getting angry. Oh, he's getting more angry. Oh, he's really cross. I have no idea why he was getting so upset there. I could understand totally why Albano was getting upset, and I love Valentina's existential angst. It was so funny, but I don't understand why Lampatho was so cross there. Can someone explain it to me?
Was it on the behalf of Laverdure? Was it sort of about, these people dressing up and, interfering with your marriage rights or something like that? I genuinely, I don't know either, so I'm just spitballing on that one. Alan?
I'm just wondering whether it's effectively the four henchmen who basically dominated Laverdure in yesterday's sequence. I actually see him as being a meal ticket for a considerable period of time, and therefore if something goes pear-shaped, there's going to be a lot less resource for them to sponge off.
It seems to be, yes, he's being, that suggestion of that he's being on the behalf of Laverdure, it seems to be. Helen?
Yes, I mean, for someone who doesn't have a plot function, Lampatho has an awful lot to say, as I discovered when I was reading him in Acts 1 and 2. But I don't think you have to worry. He's a sort of self-starter. He can get cross without any reason at all.
I think, to be fair, we have to give the actor a reason for what they're doing.
Yes, but I mean, I was having a certain amount of difficulty in discovering a motivation, but they were lovely words. But what I stuck my hand up to say was, there is a tremendous amount in here about money. When the widow remarries, depending on other claimants, she can quite often take everything that her late husband possessed, and during the minority of any of the children of the first marriage, her new husband can completely waste the estate. Which is what Albano is talking about. And it's not just the jointure, which would probably be in her lifetime and maybe only up to a remarriage would be a third of the estate. It's also under what was called coverture. Any new husband takes over her rights to the guardianship of Albano's children. Now, I don't know. Albano seems to have there seem to be children of this first marriage. At any rate, one son. I'm not sure about that though.
It literally turns up in passing. He's the only person who's mentioned it. It may or may not be important. I mean, that's exactly the situation we had in the second plot in Two Lamentable Tragedies. About the use of somebody's estate. It's a slightly different circumstance, but it's the same sort of principle here about wasting the estate of a minority. I'll go to Lynn, then Eric.
I was thinking back about Lampatho, so I'm going back in the conversation a little bit because who is he? What is going on with him? I would be so interested in workshopping his scenes to try to find some thread, some motivation. I mean, the only thing I can think right now is he's kind of a protean character. He's just acting all the time, and he can't quite settle on what role he wants to play. So in the first scene, he's the sycophant. I protest. And then in another scene, he's the philosopher. My dog might be as wise as I am. And here he's the grumpy old man. He's Diogenes. I don't know. But maybe it's just all role playing. That might be one way to do it.
Eric.
I thought that in this one, Lampatho started getting angry because of what Quadratus is saying, as in Quadratus, and in my head at least, Lampatho and Quadratus are talking to each other, and then commenting on what Laverdure is saying, who's actually talking to either himself or to Bidet, because he kind of goes, "Why I can rise high, straight legs, so on and so forth," and then Quadratus comments on that, but then Laverdure doesn't react. So there's a part of me going, what a babble arrogance is this? Is commentary on why I can rise high and so on. and then he just keeps like getting sort of more and more, well, falsely pissed off, perhaps.
It's actually he's having an argument with Quadratus, not really engaging with what's going on with Laverdure, kind of thing. So that actually they're having a separate thing about their response to Laverdure's situation.
Actually, is that whole conversation then between Quadratus and Lampatho, is that off to one side? Is that like a kind of whispered argument that's going on because they can see what Laverdure is saying and doing?
I don't think it's this whispered one, because Laverdure does sort of respond to it at the end. I think it's just that they get, it's like he doesn't get a word in edgeways, that they go for each other. I could be wrong on that. I think you're right. I think Lynn's point on this is right, that actually we need to kind of workshop this stuff and really dig into it a bit more. Just before we move on, Albano, who we've just met, is not very happy at the beginning of the scene, but he does manage to describe his relationship with Celia in interesting terms. The interesting use of language. Someone's pointing out that they're sort of basically describing in as euphemistic a way as possible about when they're having sex, and what was said then and stuff. And of course, we've not met Celia. We're into Act 3. We've still not met Celia at all. She's constantly been referenced by other people. Eric.
I just wanted to make a point about basically the whole sort of Albano having a breakdown about his existential, who am I kind of thing, reminded me of, I think it was Rare Triumphs of Love and Fortune, where the enchanter just has this moment of oh my god, they burned my books. Who am I? What am I gonna do with my life? I can't handle this anymore, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. And also, I was thinking that you can kind of predict where this is leading now. It's going to be Francesco and Albano are going to meet at some point and sort of go, I'm Francisco. No, you're wait, what? How? What? Where? Why? I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, we're going to move on to Act 3, Scene 3, last scene of the act. I'm going to say, Francis, I'm going to take Trip away from you. I'm going to give you Noose.
Okay.
Because Trip doesn't really say anything.
No.
And Noose does. So that seems like a fair swap. So Act 3, Scene 3. Enter Slip and Noose. Trip with a truncheon of a staff torch, and Doit with a pantoffel. Bidet, Holofernes following. The cornets sound, or they would if I could find them. Cornet sound.
Proclaim our titles.
Bosphorus, Carmelidin, Honorificamus, Bidet.
I think your Majesty's a Welshman. You have a horrible long name.
Death or silence?
Honorificamus Bidet, Emperor of Cracks, Prince of Pages, Marquess of Munchance, and sole regent over a bale of false dice. To all his under-ministers' health, crowns, sack, tobacco, and stockings undercracked above the shoe.
Ourself will give them their charge. Now, let me stroke my beard, if I had it, and speak wisely, if I knew how. Most unconscionable, honest, little honest, good subjects, inform our person of your several qualities, and of the prejudice that is foisted upon you, that ourself may preview, prevent, and preoccupy the pestilent dangers incident to all your cases.
Here is a petition exhibited of the particular grievances of each sort of pages.
We will vouchsafe in this our public session to peruse them. Pleaseth your excellent wagship to be informed that the division of pages is tripartite, or threefold. Of pages, some be court pages, others ordinary gallant pages, and the third apple squires, basket bearers, or pages of the placket. With the last we will proceed first. Stand forth, page of the placket. What is your mistress?
A kind of Puritan.
How live you?
Miserably, complaining to your crack ship. Though we have light mistresses, we are made the children and servants of darkness. What profane use we are put to. All these gallants more feelingly know that we can live lively express. It is to be commiserated, and by your royal insight only to be prevented, that a male monkey and the diminutive of a man should be synonyma and no sense. Though we are the dross of your subjects, yet being a kind of page, let us find your solicitude kind and respective of our time, fortunes, and birth's abuse. And so, in the name of our whole tribe of empty basket bearers, I kiss your little hands.
Your case is dangerous and almost desperate. Stand forth, ordinary gallant's page. What is the nature of your master?
He eats well and rides slovenly, and when the dice favour him, goes in good clothes and scours his pink colour silk stockings. When he hath any money, he bears his crowns. When he hath none, I carry his purse. He cheats well, swears better, but swaggers in a wanton's chamber admirably. He loves his boy and the rump of a crammed capon, and this summer hath a passing thrifty humour to bottle ale. As contemptuous as Lucifer, as arrogant as ignorance can make him, as libidinous as Priapus. He keeps me as his adamant, to draw metal after to his lodging. I curl his periwig, paint his cheeks, perfume his breath. I am his froterer or rubber in a hot house, the prop of his lies, the bearer of his false dice. And yet for all this, like the Persian louse that eats biting and biting eats, so I say sighing and sighing say, my end is to pace up, si quis. My master's fortunes are forced to cashier me, and so 6 to 1, I fall to be a Pippin's squire, hic finis Priami. This is the end of pickpockets.
Stand forth, court page. Thou lookst pale and wan.
Most ridiculous emperor.
Oh, say no more. I know thy miseries. What, betwixt thy lady, her gentlewoman, and thy master's late gaming, thou mayst look pale. I know thy miseries, and I condole thy calamities. Thou art born well, bred ill, but diest worst of all. Thy blood most commonly gentle, thy youth ordinarily idle, and thy age too often miserable. When thy first suit is fresh, thy cheeks clear of court soils, and thy lord fallen out with his lady, so long may be he'll chuck thee under the chin, call thee good pretty ape, and give thee a scrap from his own trencher. But after he never beholds thee, but when thou squirest him with a torch to a wanton's sheets, or lights his tobacco pipe, never useth thee but as his pander, never regardeth thee but as an idle burr that stickst upon the nap of his fortune. And so, naked thou camest into the world, and naked thou must return. Whom serve you?
Fool.
Thou art my happiest subject. The service of a fool is the only blessed slavery that ever put on a chain and a blue coat. They know not what nor for what they give, but so they give 'tis good, so it be good they give. Fortunes are ordained for fools, as fools are for fortune, to play withal, not to use. Hath he taken an oath of allegiance? Is he of our brotherhood yet?
Not yet, right venerable Menos Bine, but as little an infant as I am, I will, and with the grace of wit, I will deserve it.
You must perform a valorous, virtuous, and religious exploit first, in desert of your order.
What is't?
Cousin thy master. He is a fool and was created for men of wit, such as thyself, to make use of.
Such as myself? Nay, faith, for wit, I think, for my age or so. But on, sir.
That thou mayst the easier purge him of superfluous blood, I will describe thy master's constitution. He loves and is beloved of himself, and one more, his dog. There is a company of unbraced, untrussed rutters in the town that crinkle in the hams, swearing their flesh is their only living, and when they have any crowns, cry, God a mercy, Moll, and shrugging, let the cockholes pay for it, intimating that their maintenance flows from the wantonness of merchants' wives, when in troth the plain troth is the plain and the stand, or the plain stand and delivers them all their living. These comrades have persuaded thy master that there is no way to redeem his peach-coloured satin suit from pawn, but by the love of a citizen's wife. He believes it. They flout him. He feeds them, and now 'tis our honest and religious meditation that he feed us. Holofernes, puppy.
Hippo, and please you.
Pippo. 'Tis our will and pleasure thou suit thyself like a merchant's wife. Leave the managing of the sequence unto our prudence.
Or unto our prudence. Truly, she is a very witty wench, and hath a stammeled petticoat with 3 guards for the nonce. Of your merchant's wife, alas, I am too little, speak too small, go too gingerly. By my troth, I fear I shall look too fair.
Our majesty dismounteth, and we put off our greatness. And now, my little knaves, I'm playing crack. As I am Bosphorus, Carmelidon, honorifici cacuminus Bidet. I am imperious. Honour sparkles in mine eyes. But as I am crack, I will convey crossbite and cheat upon Simplicius. I will feed, satiate, and fill your paunches, replenish stuff and furnish your purses. We will laugh when others weep, sing when others sigh, feed when others starve, and be drunk when others are sober. This is my charge at the loose. As you love our brotherhood, avoid true speech, square dice, small liquor, and above all, those 2 ungentlemanlike protestations of indeed and verily. And so, gentle Apollo, touch thy nimble string. Our scene is done, yet 'fore we cease, we sing.
And indeed they do sing as we go into the music between the acts. And once again, the act ends with literally, and band cue. It's, again, entirely pointless if delightful scene. I mean, there's so much going on here, and I do love Holofernes puppy. After discussing a dog, it's like it's just this strange little word association thing going on in his mind there, and it's Pippo. There's so much going on here. Lynn.
Yeah, isn't this largely pointless but amusing comedy scene with pages something Lily does? Haven't we seen this in Lily? And what is it?
Almost every Lily, basically.
Yeah, okay,
actually.
so
about 50% at least.
Yeah. So this is a John Lilly move.
Well, I don't know. I think it's just a boy player move. I suspect it's just a wider thing that, you know, they're good at this kind of gig, and also you can rehearse them separately as a separate unit from the main plot. And so I think it's feeding into that. Francis, then Alan.
It's a very human scene, which I think modern audiences could relate to, because it's like eavesdropping on the Office Juniors complaining about their managers in the break room.
Alan.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like the beginning of Act 3, the plot did actually have an outing, but we've had enough of that. Let's put it to bed for a while, let it have a lie down, and let's chuck in this sketch, which we know has worked elsewhere, or variants of it have worked elsewhere, you know, just for a good giggle.
I just love all of it. They're so good. The Bidet's, you know, stuff. Our Majesty dismounteth, and we put our fire.
It's beautifully written, but it's got absolutely diddly squat to do with the rest of the plot, with the possible overlap of a couple of characters.
And I think some of the naming may be misleading as well, that some of these we've seen before. You know, a Noose rather than News from earlier, so however, so I suspect that's basically the same person. Other thoughts from the room? Eric?
See, I had pictured it more as like the beginning of Dead Poets Society, where they kind of go, you know, this is going to be our sort of, you know, once they start reading poems in a cave, they will dress up and sort of pretend to be someone else, basically, which is kind of what they're doing, isn't it? It's like, yes, I am the leader of this humble and honorific society. And it's very sort of, it's got that element of making fun of what's going on, also while exchanging gossip, which is very important.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that Trip, who only has one line, he only has 3 words, but it's basically, and it's a question of, is it, I think you're ridiculous, or he doesn't know what the word ridiculous means, and it just thinks it's a long word that sounds exciting. So it's your most ridiculous emperor, and Peter just go, oh, no, I'm not having that, and shuts them down. There's something very nice about that. And so there's all these crossovers with scenes with servants complaining about their lot, but also scenes to do with the law generally as well. You know, it seems like considering if we're thinking that the audience is a lot of Inns of Court people, this kind of scene presumably is full of layers that we're not getting that they might have got. I don't know if that's an in for Helen, but or not.
It is as you say, but I mean, this is neither the time nor the place to unpick it all.
Rachael.
What is the Inns of Court again?
It's a law school.
Helen, would you like to give a more fulsome answer?
Okay, there were a number of Inns of Court. Rather, there are 4 at the moment. There were more then. And they were both a school and a meeting place and the regulatory body for lawyers. So you would go to but the people who went there weren't all lawyers. Because litigation was the principal leisure occupation of the gentry of England, anyone would spend some, and it was part of an education to spend some time at the Inns of Court learning a bit about the law. It was rather like a university, except that you didn't have to do theology. And but once you were a member of an inn and could practice, you were also kept in order by the inn. They had regulations, and it was a professional body.
Right, we need to move on into Act 4, so the musical interlude concludes, and we're suddenly going to be introduced to an awful lot of people we've never met before, so that maybe this is an important costume-changing break, as we have enter Celia, Meletza, Lyzabetta, and Lucia.
Faith, sister, I long to play with a feather. Prithee, Lucia, bring the shuttlecock.
Oh, out on him, light-pated fantastic. He's like one of our gallants at...
I wonder who thou speakst well of.
Why, of myself. For by my troth I know none else will.
Sweet sister, Meletza, let's sit in judgment a little. Faith, of my servant, Monsieur Laverdure.
Troth, well, for a servant, but for a husband... Oh,
Why? Why?
Why, he's not a plain fool, nor fair, nor fat, nor rich fool, but he's a knight. His honour will give the passado in the presence tomorrow night. I hope he will deserve. All I can say is as the common fiddlers say in their God send you well-to-do.
How thinkst thou of the amorous Jacomo?
Jacomo? Why, on my bare troth.
Why bare troth?
Because my troth is like his chin, t'has no hair on it. God's me, his face looks like the head of a Tiber, but trust me, he hath a good wit.
Who told you so?
One that knows, one that can tell.
Who's that?
Himself.
Well, wench, thou hadst a servant, one Fabius. What hast thou done with him?
I done with him? Out of him, puppy. By this feather, this beard is directly brick colour and perfectly fashioned like the husk of a chestnut. He kisses with the driest lip. Fie on him.
Oh, but your servant Quadratus, the absolute courtier.
Fie, speak no more of him. He lives by begging. He is a fine courtier, flutters admirable, kisses, fair madam, smells surpassing sweet, wears and holds up the arras, supports the tapestry when I pass into the presence, very gracefully, and I assure you...
Madam, here is your shuttlecock.
Sister, is not your waiting wench rich?
Why, sister, why?
Because she can flutter. Prithee, call her not. She has 24 hours to madam yet. Come you prate, I faith I'll toss you from post to pillar.
You post and I pillar.
No, you are the only post. You must support, prove a wench, and bear. Or else all the building of your delight will fall.
Down.
What? Must I stand out?
Ay, by my faith, till you be married.
Why do you toss then?
Why, I am wed, wench.
Prithee, to whom?
To the truest husband, right head of a woman, my will, which vows never to marry till I mean to be a fool, a slave, starch cambric rough, and make candles. 'Tis down. Serve again, good wench.
By your pleasing cheek, you play well.
Nay, good creature, prithee do not flutter me. I thought 'twas for something you go cased in your velvet scabbard. I warrant these laces were ne'er stitched on with true stitch. I have a plain waiting wench. She speaks plain, and faith she goes plain. She is virtuous, and because she should go like virtue, by the consent of my bounty, she shall never have above 2 smocks to her back, for that's the fortune of desert, and the main in fashion or reward of merit. Just as do I use my servants, I strive to catch them in my racket, and no sooner caught, but I toss them away. If he fly well and have good feathers, I play with him till he be down, and then my maid serves him to me again. If a slug, and weak-winged, if he be down, there let him lie.
Good Mel, I wonder how many servants thou hast.
Troth, so do I. Let me see. The pazzo?
Dupazzo. Which Dupazzo?
Dupazzo, the elder brother, the fool. He that bought the halfpenny riband. wearing it in his ear, swearing 'twas the Duchess of Milan's favour, he into whose head a man may travel 10 leagues before he can meet with his eyes. Then there's my chub, my epicure, Quadratus, that rubs his guts, claps his pouch, and cries "Rivo!" entertaining my ears perpetually with a most strong discourse of the praise of bottle ale and red herrings. Then there's Simplicius Faber.
Why, he's a fool.
True, or else he would ne'er be my servant. Then there's the cape-cloaked courtier Balthazar. He wears a double, treble, quadruple ruff, aye, in the summer-time. Faith, I hath servant enough, and I doubt not but my ordinary pride and extraordinary cunning to get more. Monsieur Laverdure, with a troop of gallant, is entering.
He capers the lascivious blood about within heart pans, nor leaps the eye, nor lips. Prepare yourself to kiss, for you must be kissed.
By my troth, 'tis a pretty thing to be towards marriage, a pretty loving. Look where he comes.
And before we have the entrance of Laverdure, etc., to interrupt this game of badminton, let's have a little discussion of what's going on here. There's an interesting whole series of interesting things going on here, and we finally met Celia, who says almost nothing. And the floor is held by Meletza. Thoughts from the room about this scene? I'll go to Rachael first.
Why would she say anything? Like, these are the two biggest gossips. You know, you see her like broaching the subject of him very gently and trying not to say that she has any involvement with him. And these two definitely don't know that she's getting married tomorrow, even though Meletza says something to Lyzabetta about "till you be married." Like, they don't know because she doesn't want the word out.
Well, I think they do know, don't they?
I think they know.
Yeah, they're just teasing her.
Oh, I missed that.
Yes, Meletza says she has 24 hours to madam yet.
Mm. Yes, there's a lot of play on that, madam.
Laverdure's a knight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which her previous or present husband isn't. So she may be making an upward step in gentility.
Francis.
Yeah, I was just going to say this scene dovetails very nicely with the previous one, because the previous one is these pages complaining about the masters, and then it shifts to these women gossiping about suitors.
Yeah, we're getting sort of additional detail that we don't necessarily have about some of them. So we now know that I don't think we've had the detail that Jacomo is a little bit bald. So that's a useful thing to note. And we're getting other perhaps unfair descriptions. But that's the nature of gossiping. Sarah.
Yeah, just following on from Francis's observation, and in some cases it's the same people, isn't it? The people that the pages are complaining about and the women are gossiping about. It's the same characters, which we're seeing from two different sides, which is kind of hilarious.
Have we met a Balthazar? Because he wears a double, treble, quadruple ruff, and I'd like to see that. Even in the summer. I mean, that's, at winter, you could understand. So yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on, and of course they're playing badminton as well. So there's all this play about beards and feathers and stuff. So you've got prop action that's going on there. Alan.
Not entirely sure the reference is there purely for badminton. I think we've got bawdy puns going on here as well.
Oh yeah, and again, you've got a prop you can do things with, so it gives you all sorts of potential. Eric.
I was just gonna ask, do we know about like whether this play was written by one person or by several? Because like as Lynn said about the previous scene, this is very Lily of having like the female characters clustered together and talking about other characters who are not on stage, and sort of going, oh yes, he's charming, he's not, he's in sort of, yeah, I don't know. It's just like that kind of dialogue and format is very. Then again, I don't know if Lily was stealing it because. But Lily predates this, if I'm not mistaken.
Lily, I'm fairly certain is a bit dead by now. He might still be alive. He's definitely not writing anymore. I forget his dates. I should remember off the top of my head. Yeah, there's an interesting question about these revived boy companies anyway, because I'm fairly certain they've been off the scene for about 10 years. So Lily is a very distant thing. So it's an interesting question as to what's happened in between, whether we're sort of digging into something from the past and they're reviving ideas. Marston does this kind of dialogue elsewhere. I mean, we had very similar dialogue to this last week with Malcontent. So whether that's what that is feeding off from, or whether it's just simply a coincidence, I don't know. It's one for speculation. Eric.
Also, I just noticed this, like, in one of the last bits before the guys enter, there's, how do you call it, Lyzabetta says, prepare yourselves to kiss, for you must be kissed, and then that kind of mirrors the bit where Laverdure said something like, it won't kill, it won't ruin my kissing style or something like that, which is just...
Well, he is French, so yes. Maybe there's an expectation of, how many kisses can he get away with? Or is it up the arm? Is it something really creepy and weird that way? It's giving us suggestions without actually giving us actual instructions, which is quite fun to play with. Other thoughts? Otherwise, we'll continue with the scene because we haven't finished the scene. We're mid-scene. The game has been presumably postponed as enter Laverdure, who is... that's me. So enter Laverdure, Quadratus, Lampatho, and Simplicius. Good day, sweet love.
Wish her good night, men.
Good morrow, sister.
A curtsy to your caper. Tomorrow morn I'll call you brother.
But much, much falls betwixt the cup and lip.
Be not too confident, the knot may slip.
Bounty, blessedness, and the spirit of wine attend my mistress.
Thanks, good chub.
God you good morrow heartily, mistress. How do you, since I last saw you?
God's me, you must not inquire how she does. That's privy council. Fie, there's manner deed.
Pray you pardon my incivility. I was somewhat bold with you, but believe me, I'll never be so saucy as to ask how you do again as long as I live, La.
Square chub, what sullen black is that?
A tassel that hangs at my purse strings. He dogs me, and I give him scraps, and pay for his ordinary. Feed him, he liquors himself in the juice of my bounty, and when he hath sucked up strength of spirit, he squeezeth it in my own face. When I have refined and sharped his wits with good food, he cuts my fingers and breaks jests upon me. I bear him and beat him, but by this light the dull-eyed thinks he does well, does very well, and but that he and I are of two-face, I fill my belly, and he feeds his brains. I could find in my heart to hug him.
Prithee, persuade him to assume spirit and salute us.
Lampatho, art out of countenance. For wit's sake, salute these beauties. How dost like them?
Odds foot. I can liken them to nothing but great men's great horse upon great days, whose tails are trussed up in silk and silver.
To them, man, salute them.
Bless you, fair ladies. God make you all his servants.
God make you all his servants.
His holpen well had need of you, for be it spoken without profanism, he hath more in this trade. I fear me you have more servants than he. I'm sure the devil is an angel of darkness.
Aye, but those are angels of light.
Light angels, prithee leave them, withdraw a little, and hear a sonnet. Prithee hear a sonnet.
Maid of Albano's widow that was, and Monsieur Laverdure's wife that must be.
Come, leave his lips, and command some liquor. If you have no bottle ale, command some claret wine and borage. For that's my predominant humour, sleek-bellied Bacchus. Let's fill thy guts.
Nay, hear it, and relish it judiciously.
I do relish it most judiciously.
And Quadratus drinks.
Adored excellence, delicious sweet.
Delicious sweet, good, very good.
If thou canst taste the purer juice of love.
If thou canst taste the purer juice, good still, I do relish it. It tastes sweet.
Is not the metaphor good? Is not well followed?
Passing good, very pleasing.
It's not sweet.
Let me see it. I'll make it sweet. I'll soak it in the juice of helicon. By a lady passing sweet. Good, passing sweet.
You wrong my muse.
The Irish flux upon thy muse, thy whorish news. Here is no place for her loose brothelry. He will not deal with her. Go, away, away.
I'll be revenged.
How, prithee, in a play? Come, be sociable. In private severance from society, here leaps a vein of blood inflamed with love, mounting to pleasure, or addict to mirth. Thou'lt read a satire on a sonnet now, clagging thy airy humour with
lamp oil, watch candles, rug gowns, and small juice. Thin commons, 4 o'clock rising, I renounce you all. Now may I eternally abandon meat, rust, fusty, which you most embraced disuse. You have made me an ass. Thus shaped my lot. I am a mere scholar, this a mere sot.
Come then, lamp. I'll pour fresh oil into thee. Apply thy spirit, that it may nimbly turn unto the habit, fashion of the age. I'll make thee man the scholar, enable thy behaviour, apt for the entertain of any presence. I'll turn thee gallant, first thou shalt have a mistress. How is thy spirit raised to yonder beauty? She with the sanguine cheek, the dimpled chin, the pretty amorous smile that clips her lips and dallies about her cheek. She with the speaking eye that casts out beams as ardent as those flakes which singed the world by rash-brained Phaethon. She with the lip, oh lips, she for whose sake a man could find in his heart in hell himself. There's more philosophy, more theorems, more demonstrations, all invincible, more clear divinity drawn on her cheek than in all the volumes tedious paraphrase of musty eld. Oh, who would staggering doubt the soul's eternity, seeing it hath of heavenly beauty, but to case it up? Who would distrust the supreme existence, able to confound when it can create such heaven on earth, able to entrance? Amaze, oh, 'tis providence, not chance.
Now, by the front of Jove, methinks her eye shoots more spirit in me. Beauty feminine, how powerful art thou! What deep magic lies within the circle of thy speaking eyes?
Why, now could I eat thee. Thou dost please mine appetite. I can digest thee. God make thee a good fool, and happy, and ignorant, and amorous, and rich, and frail, and a satirist, and an essayist, and sleepy, and proud, and indeed a fool, and then thou shalt be sure of all these. Do but scorn her, she is thine own, accost her carelessly, and her eye promiseth she will be bound to the good a-bearing.
Now, Sister Meletza, dost mark thy craft? Some straggling thoughts transport thy attentiveness from his discourse. Was Jacomo or our brother's plot?
Both, sweet lady. My page heard all. We met the rogue, so like Albano. I beat the rogue.
But when you were gone, the rogue beat me.
Now, take my counsel, listen.
Pretty youth. A pretty well-shaped youth. A good leg, a very good eye, a sweet, ingenious face, and I warrant a good wit. Nay, which is more, if he be poor, I assure my soul he's chaste and honest. Good faith, I fancy him. Aye, and I may chance, well, I'll think the rest.
I say, be careless still. Court her without compliment. Take spirit.
Were't not a pleasing jest for me to clothe another rascal like Albano, say, and humour him returned without all deceit, would not beget errors most ridiculous.
Meletza, bella, bellezza, Madonna, bella, bella, gentilezza, pretty kiss this initiated gallant.
How would it please you I should respect ye?
As anything, what you will, as nothing.
As nothing? How will you value my love?
Why, just as you respect me. As nothing. For out of nothing, nothing is bred, so nothing shall beget anything. Anything bring nothing, nothing bring anything. Anything and nothing shall be what you will. My speech mounting to the value of myself, which is...
What, sweet?
You're nothing. Light as yourself, senseless as your sex, and just as you would have me. Nothing.
Your wit skips a morisco, but by the brightest spangle of my tie, I vouchsafe you entire and affected favour. Wear this, gentle spirit, be not proud, believe it, youth. Slow speech, swift love doth often shroud.
Oh, my soul's entranced. Your favour doth transport my sense past sense by your adored graces. I am rapt.
Nay, if you fall to passion and past sense, my breast's no arbour for your love. Go, pack, hence.
Odds fot, thou gull, thou inky scholar, ha, thou whereupon fop. Wilt not thou clap unto our fashion gallantry? Couldst not be proud and scornful, loose and vain? God's my heart's object. What a plague is this? My soul entranced, fat, could not clip and kiss. My soul's entranced, 10,000 crowns at least. Lost, my soul's entranced, love's life, oh beast!
Celia, open, Celia, I would enter. Open, Celia.
Celia, open, Celia, I would enter. Open, Celia.
What, Celia? Let in thy husband, Albano. What, Celia?
What, Celia? Let in thy husband, Albano. What, Celia?
Ads fut. Let Albano enter.
Ads let Albano enter.
Sweet breast, you have played the waggy, faith.
Believe it, sweet, not I.
Come, you have attired some fiddler like Albano to fright the perfumer. There's the jest.
And before, we're just going to pause there, because we've got outside the door, or wherever we are, Albano and Francisco. And it's an interesting question. Are they speaking one after each other, or are they speaking simultaneously? Because we've got both people pretending to be Albano. One of them is Albano, but is not quite sure anymore whether he's Albano or not, as well as Francisco. There's a lot going on in this that I'm not quite sure I'm fully unpacking, because it's like we've got several conversations happening and drifting off. I'm not quite sure who it is that Meletza was giving the glad eye to, because I thought it was one person, then it seemed to drift to somebody else. So there's all sorts going on there. I love the line, I fancy him. And then I'll think the rest. It's too rude for you. Sarah, then Alan, then Rachael.
Yes, it took me a moment to work out what was going on, but basically I think she sees Lampatho and she fancies him. And I think this is actually where the plot and the non-plot, because I can't even call it a B-plot because it's not a B-plot, but where the plot and the non-plot are sort of colliding, because you've got these two conversations. She sees Lampatho and quite fancies him, and as long as he's kind of ignoring her, she's up for it. And then the minute he says, "Oh God, you're amazing," she's like, "Oh, just another servant." And then Celia is having a conversation with Laverdure about the fact that he met Albano, and the two are kind of overlapping. But I do think it's Lampatho that Meletza sees who she fancies.
Because I thought it was Simplicius for a moment, and then I was going, oh no, he's a bit young. He's a bit young. It was sort of suddenly going to what's her name from Malcontent, and I was suddenly going, no, this is suddenly feeling very wrong. But I don't think it's that. But there may be other confusions going on there, because it is sort of about confusions and things going on. But also that we've got Lampatho and Quadratus. It's just like wherever they meet, they just have to have an argument. Helen.
But he.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to say he is. Quadratus does actually give him good advice, because he says to him like, oh well, if you want her, you've got to kind of treat her a bit like, you know, you've got to pretend that you're not into her, and then she'll come round. And that is actually good advice. It does work, because when he's like, oh yeah, nothing, blah blah blah, she's like, oh yeah, I like the look of you, and then he immediately goes, oh, you're amazing, and she's like, oh. So so I don't know. There's like, they bicker, but then there's also kind of. It's one of those kind of weird, kind of codependent relationships where they bicker, but they're also kind of quite good friends. I found it quite endearing, actually, in a weird way.
Helen, did you want to jump in? Or were you just leaning forward with intent?
No, I wasn't. But the only thing I would have to say here is that reading the heroine of the A plot, I would have expected a few more lines.
Yeah, she doesn't say it. She still hasn't really said very much at all. Which, you know, may or may not be useful. We'll find out in a moment.
It may be to do with the casting.
Yes, I would not be surprised if there's a very specific doubling issue. Rachael, then Alan, then we will, then Valentina, then we'll move on.
Oh, I thought Ellen was before me.
It doesn't matter. Go for it. You're on.
How everybody seems like, I think that Meletza is having like sort of a slightly separate conversation, like other people were saying, and I think this is like you know, when you're having a party and this is less a dialogue and more like a chat, you know, like they're all gossiping, and so it's more like a party or something on this like badminton court, and I'd imagine there's like drinks or something that it's very. I don't know how to explain it. Like there's like Chekhov does it, and like some of his and the Three Sisters, when they have the party scene, and you have all these people talking, that it's something like that it has a casual look to it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, I think that's what's going on. That's why we're not quite getting all the dots joined together, because people are drifting away or doing other things, and then they come back into focus again. Alan?
I have a feeling that Meletza is after anybody as long as they're warm and wealthy.
No, if other people are agreeing with that one. Valentina?
I have the funny feeling that is kind of like Lampatho's role to basically like, because I think like to basically like, he's like this guy who's very good at wit, and Quadratus is very good at wit, but is wealthier, so he's kind of taking him under his protection. He takes him everywhere he goes, because like he's kind of like showing off the fact that he's paying off this, or like maintaining this guy who's like this very witty guy. Because I think, and I might be completely wrong, but like right at the beginning, I think Quadratus says something about being a mecenate, or I don't know how you pronounce it in English. It's basically somebody who pays, who like brings like poets or like artists under his protection, and he pays for their maintenance while they work. And I think that is kind of like, I think that's the kind of like relationship. That's why he's showing off all the time, because it's kind of like his role.
Okay, we need to finish the scene. There's some slight dancing that Valentina is going to be doing between being the husband and continuing to be Meletza. So hopefully that won't be too confusing. As everyone else, I think it's reasonably straightforward, but there might be clashes there as well. As we run to the end of this scene, enter Randolfo, Andrea, and Jacomo.
Good fortunes to our sister.
And a speedy marriage.
Then we must wish her no good fortunes.
For shame. Straight dear your house. Sweep out this dust. Fling out this trash. Return to modesty. Your husband, I say your husband Albano, that was supposed drowned, is returned. Aye, and at the door.
My husband.
Laugh you? Shameless. Laugh you.
Come, your plot's discovered. Good faith kinsman, I am no scold. To shape a perfumer like my husband. Oh, sweet jest.
Lost hopes all known.
For penance of your fault, will you maintain a jest now? My love hath tired some fiddler like Albano, like the perfumer.
Not I, by my blessedness, not I.
Come, 'tis true. Do not support the jest, and you shall surfeit with laughter.
Faith, we condescend. 'Twill not be crossed, I see. Marriage and hanging go by destiny.
Bar out, Albano, O adulterous impudent!
Bar out Albano, or thou matchless giglet!
Let them in, now, observe, look.
And enter Albano and Francisco dressed up as Albano.
That same's a fiddler shaped like thee. Fear not, be confident, thou shalt know the jest hereafter. Be confident, fear not, blush not, stand firm.
Now, brothers, now, gallants, now, sisters, now call me a perfumer, a gutter master, bar me, my house, beat me, buffle me, scoff me, deride me, that I were a young man again. By the mass, I would have you all by the ears, by the mass, lo, I am Francisco Soranza. Am I not? Giglet, strumpet, cutters, swaggerers, brothel hunters, I am Francisco. Oh God, oh slave, oh dogs, curse.
No, sir, pray you pardon us. We confess you are not Francisco, nor a perfumer, but even
Albano.
But even a fiddler, a minikin tickler, a pom-pom.
Scraper. Art not ashamed before Albano's face to clip his spouse? Oh, shameless, impudent.
Well said, perfumer.
A fiddler, a scraper, a minikin tickler, a pom-pom, even now a perfumer, now a fiddler. I will be even what you will do. Kiss my wife before...
Why wouldst have him kiss her behind?
Before my own face.
Well done, fiddler.
I'll fiddle ye.
Dost flout me?
Dost mock me?
Oh, to the Duke, I'll paste up infamies on every post.
'Twas rarely done. Away.
And
I'll
that's it,
follow.
Francisco.
I'll follow, though I stut. I'll stumble to the Duke. In plain language, I pray you use my wife well. Good faith, she was a kind soul and an honest woman once. I was her husband, and was called Albano before I was drowned. But now, after my resurrection, I am I know not what. Indeed, brothers, and indeed, sisters, and indeed, wife, I am what you will. Dost thou not laugh? Dost thou gurn? A perfumer, a fiddler, a diabolo, mutters the Dios, I'll fork you, by the Lord. Now I will.
And exit Albano.
'Tis a good rogue. A good rogue.
A good rogue? I know him not.
No, good sweet love. Come, dissemble not.
Nay, if you dread nothing, happy be my lot. Come, vias est, come, fair cheeks, come, let's dance. The sweets of love is amorous dalliance.
All friends, all happy friends, my veins are light.
Thy prayers are now, God send it quickly night.
And then come morning.
Aye, that's the hopeful day.
Aye, there thou hittest it.
Pray God, he hit it.
play, and there's a dance.
They say there's revels and a play at court.
A play tonight?
Aye, 'tis this gallant's wit.
Is it good? Is it good?
I fear 'twill hardly hit.
I like thy farewell. 'Twill have better chance. There's naught more hateful than rank ignorance.
Come, gallants, the table's spread. Will you to dinner?
Yes, first a man at dice, and then we'll eat.
Truly, the best wits I have the baddest fortunate dice still.
Who'll play? Who'll play?
Not I. In truth, I have exceeding bad fortunate dice.
Come, shall we in? In faith, thou'rt sudden sad. Dost fear the shadow of my long-dead lord?
Shadow? Ha! I cannot tell. Time trieth all things. Well, well, well.
Would I were time, then. I thought 'twas for something that the old fornicator was bald behind. Go, pass on, pass on.
And they exit. Okay, there's yeah, a lot going on there. A lot of stuff that I'm still not quite sure about in terms of the end there. The dance, are they still playing? Do they then play? Are they playing at dice? Are they talking about? You know, there seems to be quite a lot of potential action going on there. There and yeah, that I've just written my script. Ooh. For the bit when they all start mocking Albano's stutter, which is just, I mean, it's dramatically very effective because it's supposed to be horrible, and you know he's being forced out of his own home, and gets to tell them, say "fuck you," which is an earlier instance of the "fuck" joke. That's yeah. I think is that the earliest one furking we've got. We've got furking in 1624. So this is yeah, much earlier. Good 20 plus years earlier. I've not come across any other furking so far.
Yeah.
Other swear words are available. Other thoughts as well in this moment. So they're both let in, and then even one of the fake ones turns to the real one and goes, and you know, yeah. Laverdure is quite shocked. He's worried. Celia isn't. Celia seems fine.
Yeah.
Eric
Seems a little heartless, in fact.
Mm.
You know, long dead. It's been a matter of months.
Mm.
So, yeah, this is like, this is tricky because it's for me. It has ceased to be. It has ceased to be really funny. I am starting to really feel passion for poor Albano, who, is like being gaslighted so badly that he really doesn't know which end is up anymore. So, I mean, I wonder how we're going to resolve this. It's kind of like it would be hard to do this so we can be sure we don't push the joke too far, like past the point that it's funny.
I don't think it's supposed to be funny. I think this is the point, is that the play pivots at this point to suddenly get actually quite unpleasant. I think that's something that Marston does as well, so that this should be a bit horrible, and you know everyone's not quite enjoying themselves in this party anymore. You know that this scene starts so much fun, and it seems harmless, and then it just turns nasty. Rachael.
No, I wondered that you and Lynn just saying that if how I was saying before, it's kind of like that one scene in that Chekhov play where they're having the party, and if this isn't like a Mask of the Red Death like kind of moment where it's like this upper class people or these very wealthy people, their party is just interrupted by you know the unpleasantness of literal death like walking in.
And also it's just the way that, you know, we've been laughing at all these people and they've been being a bit gossipy and they've been a bit, you know, and they've been very witty, but actually what they're being is just actually quite horrible in so many ways, as well. And it's like suddenly this scene brings it home, in a way. I'm not sure what a pum-pum is. I am quite interested to know what a pum-pum is. That's one for someone to find out.
Context.
They just call Albano a pum-pum after a fiddler, a minikin tickler, and a pum-pum.
A drummer? Potentially.
Maybe. Nobody knows.
I assumed it was pom-pom, just a, you know, like pom-pom, like a decoration, like something insubstantial and frivolous.
Other thoughts about this scene generally, the scene overall, and it's because it's a long scene. There is only one scene in Act 4. It's one continuous action. It's broken up into effectively a series of units, but it's a complex soup of stuff. The silence around the room. It's really brought you all down, hasn't it? You're all with Laverdure there, aren't you? You know, dost fear the shadow of my long dead lord, Sarah?
I think part of the problem is it's like you said, it's a very long scene. It kind of pivots in the middle. The vibe of the play changes completely. And we're now kind of, it's like momentum is building towards something else now that we've had that pivot. And then the act just finishes with this, you know, let's just, oh, right, okay, let's go and have a dance and let's go into dinner and whatnot. And I think partly, with me at least, it's like, oh, okay, and we're stopping there. And it's like a really weird place to stop, because I feel like this momentum is really gathering now, and the dark clouds are coming in, and we're going towards something, and I don't know yet what it is. So I don't feel able to comment really, because I feel like we've stopped like right in the middle of something.
Well, I was thinking it was less the momentum was going up. It was slowing down. For all that they say play, I don't get the impression from the dialogue that follows that actually it's not like they're all suddenly dancing and it's big. That maybe, you know, music is playing and they should be dancing. But the first thing is, apparently there's something happening at court.
But the stakes are getting higher.
Oh, the stakes are definitely higher, but actually it's like that everyone just sort of slowly saunters off into the other room, and actually that it's actually in a pacing terms. And of course we have music between the acts, so it's a way of almost continuous action, even if it's delayed by music. Helen.
I've unfortunately searched pum pum. And it is, as you would expect, female genitals.
Oh, right. Okay, that I was not expecting. Okay.
Oh, weren't you?
No,
I very
wasn't.
rarely expect anything else.
Oh.
But then I got a very, it's, I mean, this is the OED, which doesn't always get it right, but.
Well, it does make sense considering Albano says we have the line that follows: "Do kiss my wife before." That suggests that there's a logic there. Briony.
Just something random to note, that we had a little tiny bit of casual racism in this, much more near the start of this scene, and it was something that we were talking about the other day, whereby you used a nation that isn't in favour at the time with your nation to describe a disease, where they said something about the Irish flux in relation to whores, so I presume.
Yeah, I think that may be less to do with being unpleasant about the Irish and more to do with the fact we're talking 16 what here?
One.
Right, okay. Irish wars going on like mad, and the people who are dying of the flux in Ireland are the English army, who are dying of the flux in Ireland rather than the Irish have the flux.
Oh.
I don't. Well, it was called the Irish Flux, but yeah.
Yes, Irish as in the flux that we all get in Ireland, rather than the flux that is given to us by the Irish. I mean, it's not like the French pox, which has got nothing to do with the country and everything to do with the people.
Yes. Other thoughts about the play overall. We're wrapping up. We're very deep into extra time. We're not going to be able to go around and do final thoughts. So this is final thoughts. If you have them for the play overall, about the shape of the play, what it's doing, Eric.
There's a part of me wondering whether this is a sort of Freaky Friday setup where they just body switch. I don't know if that's just me.
Lynn.
So I just was noticing a local irony that poor Laverdure or Laverdure, who is maybe not as dumb as Simplicius, but he's not. He's a shallow fop. He's the only person in this scene who's in a position to know what's really going on. He knows that he didn't hire a fiddler to play Albano, so he must suspect that that's the real Albano. So he's not a particularly perceptive person, but he may actually know what the gig is right here. He may know.
And yeah, nobody else is really talking about the other person dressed as Albano. When he comes in, it's like you just you get away. It's fine, and he sort of sneaks off. But yeah, there's that idea that yes, the reason why Laverdure is sort of just so out of sorts is that actually somewhere deep down he knows something very wrong is going on here. Yeah. Other thoughts, Valentina?
We're talking about unpleasantness. I mean, I think we kind of skipped over Quadratus' description of Lampatho at the beginning of the scene. It was quite unpleasant as well. So the scene doesn't really. It starts light, but like there's all these digs here and there, and that was quite a lengthy one. But the other thing, like, it strikes me a lot. It's, I don't know, funny is it's almost like a court, not court from drama, like a court in terms of like royal court drama. It's like these ideas that I have of like the established nobility is so silly. It's acting so weird, and then there's people like Laverdure just going like, what is going on in this, which is nice.
It's the way that, we sort of were quite accepting because everyone was being so witty, everyone in the first session, and to a degree the first half of this session, without sort of being too critical of what they were actually saying, what they were actually doing. It's not like the malcontent where we're all going, well, everyone's venal, in a much clearer way, and whereas here it's like the poison's slowly leaching out, and it's starting to catch up with us. And there's something actually quite interesting about that. For all the meta-ness that's also going on at the same time. These are performers who keep talking about they're in a show, and now can we cue up the next music cue? Nobody cues up a music cue at the end because they don't need to, because the music essentially is already playing. We can assume that's when the dance, that's music, that's a music cue. So that's the other thing, is the scene ends essentially with some diegetic music playing, which may or may not counterpoint what's going on stage. Eric?
Also, I think Valentina was right about the relationship between Lampatho and Quadratus, because Lampatho expresses like concern about the play that's going to be on at the on at court, and then Quadratus goes, sort of, I like that feel well. It's like, there's nothing worse than someone thinking that they're better than they are. And they basically said that he's written the play.
Yeah, that there's this play that's been sort of hinted at, but it's not like it sort of was like, our next act we're going to get a play. It didn't quite present itself as this is an important plot point, which it may or may not be, which we'll find out tomorrow. Any other bursting final thoughts from the room? Next session is going to be a little shorter because we've only got Act 5 to do next session. So we may do something extra at the end of the session as well, though that may not be part of the video for the next session. The next session will probably just be the video for the thing that's happening next session. Otherwise, we will return for Act 5, the thrilling conclusion of What You Will. Thanks to all the wonderful readers. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Play.